Welcome to this week's learning material. Over the several next chapters, we will be looking at the cardiovascular system, and we will do that in a few different sections. So we will cover the heart, which is something that you can imagine as the pump that delivers this all, generating the movement of the material within this system. And then we will be also looking at the tubing of this system, so the blood vessels. This includes arteries, capillaries, and the veins. And of course, we need to have something that is pumped by the heart and transported within the vessels. And that is going to be the blood. And the blood is what we will be looking at this week. So let's get started. So, do you remember our four main tissue types from our earlier courses? These were, of course, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. My question is, which of these tissue types do you think that the blood is? And yes, it is indeed a special type of connective tissue, much more fluid and liquidy than bone or cartilage or tendons or ligaments. So let's define what blood is. This is a rather good, simple definition. The blood provides us the transport media that circulates within the cardiovascular system. So the heart pumps the blood, which travels within this closed-loop one-way system made of blood vessels. Next, I would like to discuss just briefly about the clinical relevance of what we will be looking at. And that is, of course, drawing the blood from a patient and then spinning it. So why do we spin it? Well, this process of spinning separates the components of the blood, and this is really a standard and fairly inexpensive test to do. It gives information on many things, such as indicating the condition of the urinary system, kidney health, immune system, hormones, which we talked about in our last module, and so on. In fact, blood analysis plays a really big role in a clinical decision-making in modern medicine. One recent paper that I saw suggested that approximately 70% of clinical decision-making in medicine relies on the blood test results. So, let's talk more about the blood and some general things to note. How much blood do you think that there are in your body? Well, this is typically approximately 8% of your weight, which makes it on an average individual roughly 5 liters. That is about 1.3 US liquid gallons for those of you who do not prefer metric system. Now, let's talk about the functions of blood. So there are 3 that I want to highlight here. Firstly, blood's role as a transport media. Remember, oxygen and carbon dioxide are carried in the blood to and from the lungs and tissues of the body. Also, nutrients to cellular metabolism and the resulting waste products are carried in blood. And not to forget what we just talked about in the last module, the endocrine system. So hormones are carried in blood too. Let's have a look at the next one. Blood plays a major role in regulation too. Some of the examples that I thought here are fluid balance, which is regulated by the blood if there is too much or too little. And heat regulation too. Water, with most of blood being water, is a good transporting for heat. And I also thought about the body's pH as an example. Note how narrow range of pH of our blood is maintained in. It really is remarkable. And the final function that I want to mention here is the protective role of blood. One good example is the immune system cells traveling also in blood, the white blood cells. And another one that is personal to me is the clotting of blood. So we regulate the bleeding from a cut and entry of materials through a puncture to the skin by having this blood clotting mechanism. So there you have it, 3 important functions of the blood. And this completes our first lecture video for this chapter. See you at the next one.